What did you see here today that was exciting, that just blew you away?
Yeah, well, it's innovation, which I think in agriculture, this is a really interesting time to be serving on the House Agriculture Committee because things are changing. How farmers are farming, how they're using conservation practices. We just saw a tool created here at the AI farm that would help incentivize farmers to using conservation, cover crops in particular. That's something we've been trying to encourage farmers to do. As you know, we have some of the best soil in the country, but to protect that, we need to encourage our farmers to do conservation. And through innovation and places like AI farms, that's what they're encouraging, is using technology to innovate in agriculture.
And it may solve a labor problem that we're running
Yeah,
into.
yeah. I mean, it was immigrant labor is used primarily to actually farm. I know I visited horseradish farms down in Collinsville, and sometimes we have labor shortages. And so I think with labor shortages, with a changing economy, I think always making sure that we're innovating is important.
What can you take back from this to the committee, to Washington, to make something happen?
That agricultural research and investing in it is critically important for our federal government. And when we're talking about getting a farm bill done, I think including incentivizing and increasing our amount of agricultural research supports not just the University of Illinois, but all of our farmers in central and southern Illinois. Yeah.
Is that farm bill going to be done in reconciliation? How is it going to move through the House?
I would be very doubtful that it would happen during reconciliation. I think it is going to have its own process. Obviously, those of us on the House Agriculture Committee feel a jurisdictional issue as it relates to things like SNAP benefits, getting a farm bill done. We have a new ranking member, Angie Craig from Minnesota, on the House Agriculture Committee. I know she's already in conversations with our chairman, G.T. Thompson, on what a farm bill is going to look like. But we need to get it done. I mean, we're on, I think, a second or maybe third extension of our farm bill. And so I think we need to put partisanship aside in Washington if that's possible, and actually I think get something done here.
Do you have any idea, what are your thoughts on how a farm bill that could have been passed in the previous Congress would look compared to the one that will be passed or could be passed in this Congress?
Well, two things in particular. I think one are the deep cuts that the House Republicans were trying to do in this last farm bill that came out of the House Ag Committee. Those cuts were too deep for a Democratic caucus to be voting on, and I think they're continuing to discuss using those revenues to pay for other things. I fear tax cuts for some of the super richest people in our country. We can't be doing that on the backs of the poor and the backs of the working class in this country, so we're going to fight to protect those SNAP benefits that I know a lot of working families rely on. So that's going to be a continued ongoing debate. But the other thing that I really raised is the geographic inequity that I really felt was in the farm bill that got out of the House Agriculture Committee. I ended up voting against it largely for this reason. I think that it overly incentivized and provided subsidies and support to southern commodities. The Midwestern farmers like corn growers, soybean growers, we deserve our fair share as well. We face a lot of the same uncertainty and challenges that our southern commodities face, but our crop insurance isn't keeping up with the current inflation, with current process in the economy right now. And so we need to see a more equitable farm bill that's geographically balanced, and that's something that I'm looking for. It's just a fair share for corn and soybean growers.
From them, how concerned are you about the Trump administration now using this idea of tariffs, which he promised to do in the election, as punitive and as a way to bend perhaps the worldview to his?
Yeah, well, retaliatory tariffs are what I'm specifically concerned about. If he puts a tariff on a country like Colombia and they're bringing in bananas, for example, we don't grow bananas here in the United States, so that raises the prices of bananas for working families because Colombia is going to retaliate. So maybe it's not Colombia in this case, but he's talking about an across-the-board tariff that is going to negatively impact our agricultural economic base here in Illinois. When we look back at the Trump trade wars that happened in his first administration, we know that that cost $27 billion of taxpayer money in order to provide assistance to farmers that were trying to adjust with the struggles that they were facing with these types of tariffs. So we're going to go back to that. That's going to cost taxpayers more. It's also going to cost more at the grocery store. I'm very concerned about this. We're the #1 corn exporting state in the country. And when you talk about tariffs and then retaliatory tariffs, the country that benefits the most is Brazil. And so we need to keep our competitive edge. And I think from a tariff perspective, specifically with our agricultural economy, he's playing with fire.
Last question.